It's local government election.
Did you know you can vote with your new voter ID card?
You don't need your ID
Once
card
you're
to vote.
registered to vote, that is, your name is on the list, you can vote in the upcoming local government election. If you don't have your new ID card, simply go to your polling station on election day and our trained election day workers will assist you. This message is brought to you by the Electoral Office of Jamaica. Did you know you can vote without your new voter ID card? Once you're registered to vote, that is, your name is on the voters list, you can vote in the upcoming local government election. If you don't have your new ID card, simply go to your polling station on election day and our trained election day workers will assist you. This message is brought to you by the Electoral Office of Jamaica.
You can go and vote without your ID card, okay?
By the way, one of the, and I mean, Mr. Hines can speak about the extent to which that it has helped or not helped, but there was the matter of the establishment of the parochial revenue fund somewhere approaching 2007 or somewhere in that, in the early 2000s, right? Which I think, at least in principle, should have provided the municipalities and the councillors and mayors a certain level of autonomy from central government. As far as to what extent it has ameliorated the traditional reliance on central government, maybe he can speak more than I can.
One thing I'd like to say quickly here is that consider a place like the Forum Hotel that was sitting there in Portmore for well over 20 years. And this mayor got involved and decided that I went and looked at the building. I walked it up and down as a person who's involved in construction. And when I saw this thing, I said, but nothing wrong with this building. But to get what happened next to happen, I had to go to the most honorable Bruce Lee, because he was the prime minister at the time. That would have been the responsibility. And he asked Ms. Joy Douglas to go and look and see what nonsense the mayor was talking about. To date, Forum building is now one of the nicest little things in Portmore. It did not go in the way that I would have wished it to go, because I wanted it to go.
But your intervention pushed it to.
No, I definitely
I want to hold that thought. Yeah. You're in St. Catherine, you're at Portmore St. Catherine, you're the former mayor there. And our reporter, Raquel Porter, she's in St. Catherine, and we now join her live for the latest in that parish. Raquel, what can you tell us? Raquel, are you hearing me? Oh, we seem to be having some... Raquel, are you hearing me? Oh, we'll have to get back to Raquel in a minute. She is covering activities in St. Catherine.
Well, while you're waiting perhaps to get back to Raquel, let me go back to the numbers that we were talking about at the beginning in terms of voter turnout for elections. 1986 was one of those, I suppose the Americans would call it an outlier, in that the voter turnout for that election, a local government election, was 65.5%, right, which is huge by today's parliamentary election standards. And the reason for that, the context is that the PNP had boycotted the 1983 election. The last local government election was 1981. The last parliamentary election was 1980. So there was a lot of pent-up energy and emotions during the intervening years. And of course, Michael Manley, seeking a return, a resurgence, put all of his energy.
The Jersey supporters here, we spoke to this morning, they're saying that it is time for Mr. Truth to go. So we are, surveying the ground to see what other persons have to say in response to that. Earlier, I was also at the Mount Sterling Primary School in that division. The PNP has managed to hold on to that for the last three parish council elections. The PNP candidate, Kerry Thomas, he has already voted. We haven't gotten any word from the JLB candidate for that division, Rena Ford. We also saw a lot of police presence in Mount Salem, so the police have been keeping a tight wrap on that area, and they say that supporters on both sides have been peaceful, they've been jubilant, no tension or violent disruption, so far. I've also been told that the JLP candidate for the Montgomery South Division, Richard Vernon, he has already voted. My understanding is that the numbers again for both sides of the political divide have been quite slow.
He's a former mayor of Portmore, as you well know. But we were looking at the voter turnout of previous elections, local government elections, which is normally low, save for 1986, as Earl pointed out to us. We are anticipating, or pollsters have anticipated, a higher voter turnout this time around. What do you think of that, and what do you think of the low voter turnout traditionally for local government elections?
Well, you know, the low, traditionally we have not really given local government the kind of support it needed. In fact, remember, when we got to office in 2012, our local government was already a department in the office of the Prime Minister. It was done by Bruce Golding administration in 2007. So I had actually
some footage of Mr. Holness and his wife, Prime Minister Andrew Holness. They just arrived to vote. That's in Mona. Of course, several reporters, as you can see in these images, reporters, videographers are walking with them as they go about marking their ballots for this local government election.
And he's voting in a contest within a contest here. Herman, this is where Venetia Phillips, who was with the PNP and has defected to the JLP, this is where she's running. And I think the PNP has put extraordinary effort into defeating her. Obviously, Prime Minister Holness will be doing his best to buttress her as well.
All right, and we have several of these across the country in terms of candidates going to the other side. We're pretty much at the end of our show, but this hour, Earl, your final comments on today's happening so far?
Well, thus far, everybody